Yeah, Prof, good evening.
Thank you, Prof. You are welcome, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please kindly allow Professor Abani to assist us to share this.
Okay, yes, I can share now.
Okay. I will be talking to us this evening on procedure. First part of my lecture will be on procedure of publishing high impact journal paper. These are the outline for my lecture this morning. We'll look at the introduction, which will give us a background on what we mean when we talk about high impact journals. We'll also look at why do we need to write and publish our papers or articles in high impact journals. Then the major core aspect of our work tonight will be on the steps or procedure that will guide us in publishing high impact journals. Then we'll conclude this aspect. We'll also have time to look at the plagiarism. I pray time permit us. Moderator, please, I don't know the time I have so that I can time myself and hit the time. Is it 1 hour for me today, ma?
Yeah, you have 60 minutes for.
Okay, that's fine. Let's look at the introduction aspect like a background. When we talk about high impact journal, what do we mean? Basically, I want to seek permissions of professor. Yeah, we use the word influential, though it's an hidden name. If you talk about high impact journal, we are talking about journals that are influential in a particular field. I said here in my slide that high impact journal is ones whose articles are regularly cited across the academic spectrum, especially if they are cited by another high impact journal. What do we mean when we talk about high impact journal? A journal is said to be high impact when it has a high impact factor. You want to ask me now, when we talk about high impact journal, high impact factor, high impact journals are journal who has high impact factor. What is high impact factor? A journal's high impact factor is the measure of the spectrum with which an average article in that journal has been cited for a particular period, basically around 1 year. It is the measure of the importance of that journal that is being calculated on how many of its articles get published within a certain period. There is no exact value that makes a journal have an high impact value. But the higher, one thing I want us to know, the higher the impact factor of a journal, the more that journal becomes influential. The higher the impact factor of a journal, the more highly ranked such journal will be. High impact journal or high impact journal is like one of the tools you can use to compare journals, especially in different subject category. The question you ask yourself, if we now know the meaning of high impact journal and vis-a-vis high impact factor, how do you know a journal has high impact? Basically, let's not deceive ourselves. Scopus have gone high. Scopus has taken the day. The first way you can know if a journal is high impact, you can either refer to Scopus database to find the impact score of that journal. Scopus, they do all the ranking. We have other indexing house that are also as important as Scopus. But presently, among these influencing house, Scopus has been dominary. So if you want to know the impact factor, or you want to know if a journal has high impact, if that journal is high impact journal, HI journal, you go to Scopus database. The database of Scopus can be found, these two websites, they are clickable. When I send my slide, you click them. You can use what the popular one people use is what is called the schemago. When you use the schemago, you see the impact of that journal. And this journal, based on the impact factors, are classified into 4 categories. You have the KU1, you have the KU2, you have the KU3, you have the KU4. For time factor, I will not be dwelling on the KU1 or KU2 or KU4. But let's talk about ways that will enable us publish high impact factors. Why do we need to write or publish our papers in high impact factor? That is the question we ask ourselves. High impact journals seek high quality manuscripts that not just only contribute to knowledge of the reader, but also clearly communicate the result and impact of such results to the academic world. To share what does high impact factor, why do you need high impact factor journal? It enables one to share novel ideas, research findings, and new knowledge gained from research within the academic community. I break the benefits of high impact factor journal into two. As an individual, Kingsley, you publish in high impact factor. What are the benefits to me? Dr. Ozunagu, you publish in high impact factor journal. What are the benefits to you? There are two ways this thing will benefit us. It will benefit you as an individual. It will also benefit the institution you are affiliated to, either as a student or a faculty member. One, to individual. If you publish in high impact journal, it gives you boost, or it gives you good career prospects. It gives you good career prospects, it gives you boost. Like today, I was very, very happy this afternoon when I was called upon and said, Kingsley, you have been ranked among the top 500 best researchers in Nigeria. Why? Because most of my paper is being published in high impact factor. That thing gives me boost. It boosts you and it gives you a good patron. When you are talking about people, it builds your career prospect as an individual. It can also help you to open doors in your career to climb higher. How do you climb higher? You might get an academic position. Somebody will just call you, Kingsley, come and pick this job because you are good. If you present your CV to a board, they look at it, this guy is good though. They want to take you once because you have high impact factor. It makes you get invited as speakers to talk to people the way we are doing today. If I have a weak CV or I have not published high impact factor, I don't believe the management of Open University will invite me to talk to them on how to write impact factor journal. It even gives you an opportunity to get prestigious grants. You win grants, you win money that will enable you to do more research. I think Professor Hilary will be talking to us tomorrow on how to write proposal to win grants. Again, to have high impact factor, it will enable you to contribute your impact significantly to the academic environment. You contribute your impact, you don't hide your impact. It's like you own a candle, you cover it. No, it will enable your light to shine. The academic work will recognize you because your work is being published in high impact factor journal. Nobody, no good researchers will read papers that are not in high impact factor. KU1 to KU4. I want to state that very well. If such paper is not being published there, most researchers will not even cite it, they will not look for it. Also to your institution, you find out that high impact factor bring prestige and reputation to your institution. Today, I was very happy. My DVC called me, said, Kingsley, congratulations. We are proud of you. Because definitely, whatever you are doing, in as much you are attached to an institution, the glory also goes to your institution. And the last part of it, you know, they do institutional ranking every year. If you have an impact factor because of you, because you work in that institution or you are a student of that institution and you publish an impact factor journal, it will increase your institutional writing. Last year, our school was ranked among the 4th best university in Nigeria because most of the researchers in Edo State University, they put their paper in high impact factor. We are very young university up to 4 or 5 years. You see us ranking among the top 4 best university in Nigeria, not because of anything else, because most of our researchers, they put their work in high impact factor. Thanks to our academic, DVC academic, who actually came in and taught many of us on how to write scopus in this paper. Look at the main part of a manuscript, which we have been dwelling with. This main part of a manuscript, we have dwelled on this. You look at the main part, you look at the introduction, the material and method, the result, and the discussion. We have dwelled on this ever since we started this lecture on Monday. So I will not talk more on that. You can look at it, but those of you who will be doing review, you find out that from this diagram, the 2 parts that you are seeing here, the 3 parts, you can also compress it to write another topic, because in the review work, you might not have material and method, you might not have result discussion, you might not have all this part, but we have talked on all that, so we can know what to do there. The most important aspect of our work tonight, is to look at steps we'll take that will enable us publish high impact factor. I want to tell us this with all sincerity. There's no easy formula or means of getting your paper published in high impact journal. I must tell that. There's no shortcut. There's no easy formula. There's no easy formula. However, there are some few requirements such paper must possess before they can stand a chance of getting published in any high impact journal. I want to put this question before us. As a researcher, these are questions that have come to the mind of every researcher, that will come to the mind of every researcher if you want your work to be published in high impact factor. You ask yourself this question before you begin. 1, have I done anything new? Have I done anything? This research I'm going to do, have I done anything novel? Again, you ask yourself another question. Is there anything challenging in this work? As a researcher, is there anything challenging that will challenge people to do more? You ask yourself. Another question you need to ask yourself, if you want to publish high impact journal, will the result in this my research I'm carrying influence other researchers to do more? There are papers I've read that will influence me to do some work. It will influence you. Have you provided solution to some difficult problem? I've seen some research advance them back because they are providing solution to solve simple problem and causing difficult problem. Is this work I am doing, is it going to solve difficult problem? Is this work I'm doing going to provide solution without causing another problem? By the time you ask yourself this question, you are sincere with yourself, and you said yes to this and most of these questions, my brothers and sisters, I tell us this evening that it is time to share your research work and start preparing your manuscript to be published in high impact factor journal. These are some of the steps I have allowed journal or papers or manuscript published in high impact journal. These steps are what I'll be itemizing tonight. The first step is to choose your research focus. Where am I going to work on? Which area am I going to? Am I going to cyber security? Am I going into artificial intelligence? Am I going into IoT? These are questions you have. Am I going to use artificial intelligence to solve environmental problems which have been a cause of alarm to people? Am I going to apply artificial intelligence to solve climatic problems? You begin to ask yourself, which area will I go into as a computer scientist? Again, the next step you will take is to have a solid title. Permit me, I will explain all these things, why I use the word, not just title, solid title. The next step, you select your preferred journal, because each journal, high impact journal, have their respective rules. And if you want your paper to be published in such journal, you must follow the rule verbatim. You must also have a good abstract. You make your research tell a story. You must tell a story. You also have an excellent literature review. I thank God we spend our time talking on most of this area. You write in a short. Don't give too many stories. Let me tell us, we are not in humanitarian science where you give too many problems. Scientists will not want to read too many stories. Write possibly very short, clear, and concise manner. You must learn to write like that. Go straight to the point, hit the nail at the head. Don't dance around the bush, because many reviewers will not have time to read your too much report story. Another step is proper editing of your write-up. That has torn up many papers rejected. Even when you have the story to tell, you are followed up, you must learn to edit your words. We'll be telling us how to edit our write-up. Then I lose the ninth step, which we are going to look at other things that is needed.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I think, Doctor, we cannot see the slides.
Okay, let me see if I can share my own. If we cannot see, let me see if I can share my own. We can't see the slide. Let me share my own then.
Doctor, yes. Abani maybe he's having. So if you can share, fine.
Okay, let me share my own. I don't know if we can see my screen now. Can we see my screen?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, if we can see my screen, let me put it on screen share so that, let me see if it will come.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't put it. Okay, can we see it very clear?
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
okay, okay. Let's look at the first step, choosing a research focus. This is generally the first step in writing any review paper, any research paper you want to write. You must choose a research focus. You must choose a research focus. Sorry, it's coming up. Okay, you must choose a research focus. First, that's the first thing you must do. The broad area, what am I going to work on? But this is also very important, especially not just choosing a research focus, you want to do a research. No, it is very important if you want such research to be published in high impact factor journal. Your research focus must focus on solving real-world challenging problems whose solution will have a real impact on that field you have chosen. This is because the reason why you must do this is because high impact journal only focus on research that has the most impact on that domain you have chosen. You must be ready to choose a research focus that will solve world problems. What are the challenging issues now? How is my research? How am I going to use artificial intelligence to solve environmental problems? How am I going to use artificial intelligence to solve climate problems? These are areas they want to see. Don't just because do research areas that will not solve any problem. The next step is you must talk about the next step is to having a solid title. I thank God for Professor Larry, who actually gave us a comprehensive way where we can write a good title. Selecting the right research title is the first half of the initial process. The second half is as important as the title. To get your paper published in an high impact journal, it is mandatory. Please underline that word. It is important, it is necessary to have a good and attention-grabbing title. The title, this is because journal receive a lot of papers. High impact journal receive a lot of players. That's why when you check some, they tell you their acceptance rate is like 5%. Some will tell you 20%, 80% will be rejected. Actually, without going to review. Why? Because if your title is not captivating, they will just turn it down. They will just turn it down. If your title is not captivating, they will just turn it down. So the first thing you do, you must have a strong, concise, simple, and interesting title. You must have this. You must have it. The next step is to select a preferred. Why I bring this one third? Because if you want to write an high impact factor journal, you must have a journal in mind. Selecting the journal that you wish to publish your paper is an essential step in the journey of getting that paper published in high impact journal. You don't just sit down because you want to write a paper, you start writing, you do not even have an idea of the kind of journal you want to submit this work to. Because you must follow the step, you must know what the journal needs. If possibly somebody tells me that, go and look for people who have done similar work in that journal and cite their work. So you must have that journal in mind. I want to do a work on artificial intelligence vis-a-vis environmental issue. There's one journal in SCVR, environmental management. They talked about that. Can this work go there? Yes, it can go. You go there and look at the journal. There's a guide for author. You follow it sequentially, then you read more, you know more. And some of the high impact, the question was asked yesterday, some of the high impact journal will be shared for us. I think Professor Larry has agreed to assist us. He told me I should relax. We talked this morning that he will assist us to look at some of the high impact journal and the way they rank. He has prepared for that. He will definitely look at that. So let's be patient. If you don't look at it, we are still going to tell us, why do you identify what are some of these high impact journal? How can you get them? This is so that when writing your paper, you'll be able to follow the guideline of your targeted journal strictly. Because one way they reject paper, even when the work is good, if you don't follow the guideline, such journal don't have time for somebody. We say do A, you are doing B, take literature first. Each journal has their own variation, a little variation. Even the references they cite, even when they say you should use upper citation, they still have variety. So you must learn to follow them. Writing a paper that does not adhere to the guideline of a journal will definitely not get published in an high impact factor journal. Step 4, you must have a good abstract. Having the title, writing a good abstract is the next. If you have the title, the next step is to write a good abstract. It's a very crucial thing you must do, a good abstract. Professor Larry talked about us about the abstract. There are 3 key areas in your abstract. Let me say the background of the study. The background. What is the problem? What caused the problem? This is what is causing the problem. This is the problem. The next step is, how am I going to solve this problem? The material and method you use. The next part is that, what have I gotten from this my research and possibly solution? 3 key areas must appear in your abstract. Very, very concise. Professor Larry actually taught us how to write a good abstract. High impact journal receive tons of publications, and they can hardly read through all of them. If I want to review a work, they send to me, high impact journal. What I do first, in short, what they do first for us, high impact journal, they send us the abstract. They will not send you the work. You only read the abstract. If you are okay with the abstract, you tell the editor, please send me this paper, I have interest. But if the abstract is not captivating, the editor will definitely first of all reject it. And me, that is supposed to be the reviewer, that is supposed to also help you, eventually escape the editor, I'll say this paper is not good because you don't have a good abstract. So after featuring by title, the first step a journal does is to filter it by title. The next step is to read the abstract of those papers. Hence, your abstract is going to be given to them your abstract will give them a lasting impression about the work you have done. Most editors will not have time to read all your work. When they see the title, they read the abstract, they know this work, there will be something good here. This is why you have to make sure you have a good one. The next step is to talk about make your research title tell a story. High impact journal require papers that have strong evidence and noteworthy conclusion. Strong evidence. They don't just publish paper because they want to publish. Paper that will not contribute to the subject matter, they will reject it. That is why your paper must tell a story. Therefore, your research needs to start by asking a big question and forming logical argument. You must ask some big questions. There have been a lot of environmental problems. People have used different methods, yet this environmental problem seems not to cease. Hence, can we now use modern computing tools to see if we can find this environmental focus? You see, you are asking yourself questions. Basically, now scientifically, you don't see research question, just ask the following are my research question. No, there are ways you coin your research question inside your work. Then you also answer them. And in process of answering them, you tell the researcher, this is why we want to do this. Also, trying to fill the gap in your story as much as possible. You give a story. You give a story of the problem. You start, you narrate all these problems, what people have done, you give them. Then you now begin to see the gap because you would have done something very good. You fill the gap. Additionally, your paper should tell a clear and compelling story. A very clear. The next step is to have an excellent literature review, an excellent one. To get your paper published in an high impact factor journal, you will need to write an excellent literature review. We talk about literature review, especially if it has to do with a research paper. Presently, the present style is when you are doing a research paper, standalone research paper, you don't need to create a section again for the literature review. That's the new trend. Initially, just go to new publications with this high impact factor. It's trying to fade away. The background of the study, which is the introduction, there's a part where you now say, this is the problem. This is what A has done, B has done, C has done, D has done. Is there any possibility of combining the solution of A and B to have another solution? You begin to ask yourself that question. If there's any possibility, this research henceforth, think that if A has done this, B has done this, and we still have this problem, let's combine 3 methods together, A, B, C, if this problem will be solved. That is where you want to do. You have created a gap. There's a gap. You are trying to fill the gap. The essence of writing a good literature review is to prove to the reader that with the numerous literature, as I said before, with the numerous literature that has already been published, your contribution is still different. What I want to do will still make a difference. We have emphasized more on literature review. Let's go on the 7th step. You must learn to write in a short, clear, and concise manner. When writing your research paper for publication, your paper must be short. Scientific paper, short, clear and concise. So it is advisable to stay away from unnecessary long sentences and statements. Unnecessary long sentences and paragraphs. If they are too bulky, your story will not make sense. People don't have time. They want to, don't dance around the bush. This is just hit the nail at the head. Also, it makes good use of the figure. If you feel you have too many stories to tell, can you put it in an illustrative diagram and just a figure 3 will tell us more about the steps that you need to follow in this research. Anybody that looks at the figure should be well descriptive. And at times you also use table to put in all the summary in one place. So if you to start writing story, just do a short table, short figure. The new style they do now, you use short illustrative figures and you make reference to that figure. Figure 1 will tell us more about the procedures, or you just put a small story there, people will want to read. Avoid too many stories. The next step, which is as important as every other step, is to edit your work. After getting the attention of the reviewer with your very, very nice title, amazing abstract, it will be silly to get your paper rejected because of many errors inside. English error, you don't put something you are supposed to put first. Result that is supposed to come first will come second. The one that is supposed to come last will come last. No, you must learn for a good editing. Before I started this work, editing is very difficult. Let me not tell you that. Editing, there are some papers I get to review. I know the story. I say, I don't know this person, this work is good, but this person is not presenting it well. I just cancel that introduction and rewrite the introduction with this person's story and tell the author, before I can proceed with this review, follow the same step I've used to edit your introduction and write like that. Because I find out that this person has a very good story, good title, good abstract, but the editing has problems. After writing your research paper, it is essential that you proofread and edit. It's essential that you proofread and receive. Possibly or preferably, use professionals. I know what I'm saying. Use professionals. Professor Hilary has graciously agreed that if we have those papers we have rejected before, many papers is being rejected because of these factors. The editing is poor. What is supposed to come first will come last. You use terms that are not scientific. You use terms. The way you write humanitarian research is different from the way you write scientific research. Each field has terminology. An expert in that field that is going to review the work, or an editor, they are looking at. If you begin to overflow things, you are using terms you are not supposed to use, they will just bring the work up. So editing, if you cannot do it, you have presented your result, you have everything, look for a professional who has experience. That will make your work flat. The next step, I talked about other things. Other things are many. The other things, one of the most other aspects is the way you reference. You must mind the way you reference. Referencing is very, very important. Referencing. I wrote one paper before. I was lucky. Environmental management. I wrote one work. I didn't follow the references style. I was lucky. The editor was just okay. He sent the work out for review and nobody mentioned it. All these journal, even when they ask you to follow the step, they still do their formatting, if the work is accepted. That's why they will send you the Gary proof for you to proofread. They will arrange the references perfectly. They will do it well. They have professionals for that. But that will not make you not do what they want you to do. The first one I sent, they accepted it. They requested for, I think, APA. I used IEEE. They sent it for review. They read. I did everything. When they want to publish, I discovered that they automatically converted it to APA. And I said, this journal is good. I sent my second paper there after about 6 months or so. The editor read the work. You know what the first thing the editor said? He said, young man, if you want me to even read this work, kindly go and format. They have different editors for depending on the nature of it. All this iPad journal, they have different editors. This edit, it was not the previous one because it's a different area. This other editor just told me, young man, this your work is good. Before I could read it, kindly go and format the references. Otherwise, I will reject it either. Format it, I've rejected it, but format it and write that this is the reason I rejected it and send it back to me. The editor was lenient. Maybe he was on the good side that day. If it was on the bad side, he just rejected it. He won't even state the reason. So I have to format and send back to him. He read it before he sent it out for review. So you must mind the way you reference. You must follow the journal. Even when the journal says, you say it's APA. APA is different though. Each journal has a little techniques that will A is using upper, B is using upper. A upper might have a little different with B. Follow their referencing style. You must reference where you must know when to cite. Even when you are doing your citation, listening your work, you must learn all those things. Those are skills you follow. If possibly, pick a paper from that journal and read it. That will help you. A recently published paper of that impact journal, pick it up and read it. It will be a guide for you. You must have another aspect that people don't talk about is a convincing cover letter. I told somebody that the leper, there must be cover letter. We must write a convincing cover letter because most editors are so busy. By the time they see your cover letter, they will know the cover letter to the editorial team, as the case may be, either the editor or the chief editor or the managing editor, as the name may be, whoever is responsible, should not be underestimated. It has power. Therefore, the content of the cover letter should be carefully written as it is meant to convince the editorial team. Because the first thing you do, if the editorial team is not convinced about your work, forget it. Also, a good cover letter must outline the theme of the paper. In that cover letter, I think I will share a sample of different cover letter if you have issues of writing it. A good cover letter must carry the title. Dear editor, we kindly submit a paper titled, authored by, for publication in your reputable journal. Do not go back. You must say the novelty of the work. This work will look at a novel method of solving environmental problem. You see, you are bringing a novelty, and you must explain the relevance of that work to that journal. By the time you do all this in the cover letter, by the time the editor reads the cover letter, he saw the title, he has seen what you have done, he already have a soft mind for that work. This work should be good. So your cover letter, don't play with it. Another step I want us to look at is to avoid research misconduct. Research misconduct. Research misconduct, the first speaker that spoke to us during our lecture, briefly, because of time factor, he was going into research misconduct. There are actually of three categories: fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. What do you mean by fabrication? You just sit down. They want me to measure data for once and simulate data and tell you, populate data and start doing statistics. That's fabrication. You are fabricating data, the data that does not exist. Again, falsification. You begin to falsify. Maybe you bring something that are not true. You did this experiment, you have A. Because literature is having D, you feel I did this and this. I could not get what close to what they get in literature. You will not tell the reviewer that even when you measure, you have 50 meters per second. Because the range is between 45 to 60. Your own did not fall into this range. You begin to fear. You will not tell them, even when you know you got 30, you will not tell them you got 47 because you want to fall into that range. That is falsification. It's a serious offense. If you are caught in any of these offense, it's not only the journal punishing you, they will not only blacklist you, they will write to your institution. And I know most institutions, especially abroad institutions, you will lose your job. You are a fake person. The first, you read your letter of appointment as a student or a staff. Misconduct, universities don't play with it. Learning institutions don't play with it. There's no two ways about it. Once you are engaged in any misconduct, especially in the case now academic misconduct, forget it, my brothers and sisters. The university will not take it. If the journal paraventure writes to your institution, you will lose your job and possibly go to jail. The other aspect is plagiarism. We want to look at plagiarism, since I was also told to talk about plagiarism. So let me quickly look at plagiarism. What do we mean when we talk about plagiarism? Simply, you use someone's work, somebody's effort. You will not even give proper, you are claiming it in an academic environment. You find out that plagiarism involves using words, idea, information, figure, table from a source without citing them properly or correctly. Not just citing them, with the responsibility you cite them, you did not cite them appropriately or correctly. Plagiarism can occur in different content also. Why often associated, you find out that you give a student assignment, you just go to Google Scholar, they define, go and explain the following step, you just go to Google Scholar, copy it and send to you. It can also happen in professional settings, not only student assignment. You want to do a research work, you just go there and pick it from the internet and put it there. Plagiarism can involve copying words or image directly, plagiarizing sentences or passages, or co-opting someone else's idea without properly citing them. Let's look at the various types of plagiarism we have as it relates to academic writing. There are various types of plagiarism, but researchers over the time, especially as it has to do with academic planning, have identified 4 types: global plagiarism, pitchwork plagiarism, incremental plagiarism, and self-plagiarism. Let's quickly look at the definitions of these 4 types of plagiarism. Plagiarism, global plagiarism is plagiarism a whole test. You just find out everything, you just copy, do this assignment. Thank God, though, when we're in the university, then they gave us assignment, we just go to internet with, you just see the same question, the same answer, we just carry it and give to the lecturer without even editing, adding or subtracting. That is global plagiarism. This includes, you can go at times, they copy essay. I met a student recently, the supervisor, I will not mention name because my DVC is here. The supervisor was actually trying to say, Kingsley, I'm busy, help me to read this student work. He said this work this student do is, this student is not intelligent to do this work. I just called the boy to my office. I asked him 1 or 2 questions. He was phone me sharp. The next thing I asked him, where did you get this work from? The guy was shocked. I said, let's go and see your supervisor. We just carried the system. We went to meet the supervisor. I said, answer this question. Where did you get this work from? The guy opened up. We discovered that he bought it. He just bought it. That is global plagiarism. You just buy a complete thesis, or you are there, somebody writing thesis for you, you just begin to submit. Write chapter 1, you carry, you go and give to. That is global plagiarism. And when you are caught, it's a very serious offense. Let's look at pitchwork comparison. This means copying phrase, passages, and idea from different sources, and you now combine them to your own. You are very smart. You are smart researcher. You take smart from Professor Balogun, you take smart from director's own, you take from Professor Abani, you take smart from Professor Hilary's own, and you combine them. Maybe you take 4 types of the global, 4 types of plagiarism. You take Professor Balogun's definition, you take Kingsley's definition, you take global. If you want to define global plagiarism, you use Kingsley's own. If you want to define incremental plagiarism, you use director's own. That is what you call pitchwork and plagiarism. Incremental plagiarism. This means inciting a small amount of plagiarized content into a mostly original text. You just put small. Incremental. In mathematics, we call them incremental. It's just small. You just put it. Say, at least I don't tire. I'm tired. No, man, let me not kill myself. Let me just put this one. They won't know. That is incremental. Another one we normally do is what you call self-plagiarism. This means maybe peradventure I have published a lot of work. So I will not be copying what I have done before to use to do another work without giving reference or doing what I'm supposed to do to beat down the plagiarism. You copy your own previous work. Your own, no, it's your own. Not that it's your own. You are the owner. You copy it and put another published work. You want to publish it on. That is self-plagiarism. Although tests in most common source of plagiarism, tests, you copy, the write-up is the most, but they are not software presently. They are not software. They are not software presently that even things like figure, images, table, data, music, art are being classified as plagiarism. You know, initially before, when you take a figure from another work, the plagiarism software might not, if it's not that strong, will not detect it. So you escape. But presently, it's the test they normally detect. But presently, something like figure, table, images are not being detected. They are also plagiarism if you take somebody's image without giving the person's credit or you didn't use it properly. We must learn to avoid plagiarism at all times. There are another category of plagiarism I want us to look at, because this plagiarism, we can look at it from 2 angles: deliberate and incidental. We are all used to English, deliberate and incidental. You can have a deliberate plagiarism. You just carry it and use it. You know, not that you didn't know. I happened to write a work. After writing, I read different work. I just sit down and was writing. After we checked the plagiarism, they discovered that those statements, I never read it anywhere. I was just using my idea. I discovered that somebody else have used it. Incidental, mistake. Or at times you write a word, you have the intention to properly. That's why when I was teaching literature review, I gave you some rules, you must keep them. You didn't really remember, or you now forgot to give credit to the owner. Those are incidental. But irrespective, either it is deliberate or incidental, plagiarism, na plagiarism. Somebody will say that na Bible and paper robber, na gun robber, na robber. Let's look at guide to understanding and avoiding plagiarism. That's the key area we want to look at. Since we have known the type, the plagiarism guide. The most surefire way to avoid plagiarism is to always cite the source. Always. Don't forget, you must note the source and cite it. But you also need to make sure that you properly integrate them into your text by either quoting or paraphrasing. There are two ways you can avoid plagiarism, but I will come to that. That even quoting and plagiarizing and paraphrasing, you still have to do them with the rules. There are 3 ways to avoid plagiarism. 3 ways. You see them, I quote them. 3 ways I have identified you can avoid plagiarism. Either you paraphrase or you quote. Quoting, you put in you put in 2 columns on top, or you cite the work. But you still need to be cautious, careful, and guided when using these 3 methods to beat your plagiarism. Even when you are paraphrasing, you still need to be very careful. Let's look at how are you going to avoid plagiarism or be cautious of plagiarism when you are paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is the best way I use to avoid my plagiarism. Let me not lie. Paraphrasing. I'm good at paraphrasing. I read whatever you have done. I try to use my own language to put them together. When you want to express an idea or information from a source, it is okay you paraphrase or summarize. It is okay. Very okay. That's the best way to reduce plagiarism. But simply changing a few words or using nearest in opposite meaning tools is not a correct way of paraphrasing. In fact, you may intentionally change the meaning or content of that source. If you're not very careful, there's where we use for words. Somebody taught me, you just click on it, you see the word nearest in meaning, the synonyms, you just pick one, you put it, you feel it will flow. At times you have to show you are fully understand the material. The best way you can paraphrase is to explain the author key point entirely with your own words. You look at a story. This is what Professor Balogun has done. You read the story, you sit down. What I do, I divide my system into 2 equal halves. If we're in a practical class now, I will show you. One side for the one I'm reading for, the other one is the one I want to make sentence. I look at the statement somebody has made, I read it and understand it. I begin to write it on my own. I look at the 2 side by side. I discover that though I am paraphrasing, I am using my own language because I have an understanding of what I've been reading. I'm not translating it into my own, not just direct paraphrasing. That is the best way you can avoid being caught, even when you feel you are paraphrased. Avoiding plagiarism when quoting. Also, when quoting is a way of avoiding plagiarism, but you can still be caught when you quote. The lecturer, yesterday, we find out that scientific word, we don't quote. We don't quote. It's not management, or we hardly quote. When you want to include an exact phrase, sentence, or passage from a source, you use quotation. You put quotation at the top. This means you need to place a quotation mark across the text that is copied directly from a source. But be sure to introduce each quote in your own words and avoid standalone quotation as a full sentence. You must avoid that. Because of time factor, let's look at the third aspect is, do I need to cite every piece of information? You see, at times you begin to cite. Is to cite it. Kingsley said this, Kingsley said it. Some information is considered common knowledge. I think the recent research work, I think Professor Balogun was part of the work where we tried to look at, we want to use watermelon pea to actually remove copper 2 from industrial wastewater. What we did then, I was looking at copper, copper 2 is getting from copper. So I now use, I was the one who wrote the introduction for that work. I now use a very powerful statement. Say copper is one of the most important well-used metas presently. I didn't cite anybody. After reading, the reviewer said that statement is powerful, I should cite it. I now look for a work and I cited. He said, no, that citation is not good. I'm talking about Compa 2, which is indirect. I should use somebody else that talked about that statement. That's the I should look for. It took me 2 days to search literature before I could see some persons who actually made a related statement and I cited it. The next day, we sent a review comment, the person accepted. I cited it, but he was not still convinced with my citation. Even when you cite, you must be careful with the way you cite. Common knowledge information that you do not learn from a particular source, but that is still widely known and verified. Professor Hilary said something yesterday, you must look for. There is source you must look for. If you take your time and use your search engine, you will see such words. Major types of plagiarism checker. You know, there are now ways you detect plagiarism. There are major checks. These plagiarism checkers are software that are used to detect imitations of someone else's work, and they're actually online. Identify the best one that you have online. You have the Enago plagiarism checker, which is powered by Turnitin, the one all of us call Turnitin. I think they told me we have Turnitin in Open University, which is very good. It's one of the best. And we see the importance of Turnitin there. I will not have time to begin to explain them. If you have my slide. Then you have the one they call the Grammarly. Grammarly is of two types. They have the one online you just see you use. That one is weak. Grammarly, the weak Grammarly you pay for. That's the one I'm talking about here. And the link, you see the upper link in this work, you see the upper link of each. There's an upper link for each. There's a source for all my work. So you can click on it and learn more about Turnitin. Likewise, Grammarly, if you click on this, I put an upper link. You can click on it directly. If you're online, it will take you to the Grammarly website where you learn about Grammarly. The other most popular one they also use is the duplicate checker. You can also see the link and you can check. There's another one they call the Pro Writing Aid. You can also see the link. You can click on it and learn more. But this, among all of them, the best so far that we have seen and that is commonly used by institutions. These plagiarism software are not supposed to be owned by institutions except you have a research grant that can cover it. They are very expensive. You can pay for it monthly, yearly, and what have you. It's actually an institutional base or a grant base you can use to get this Turnitin. And the commonly one is actually Turnitin. Towards the end of the lecture, I will just give us slide on the procedure we can use Turnitin to check our plagiarism. How do you detect plagiarism? How do you detect it? We have seen many ways as lecturers, and how will you know? In formulating, if the formulating, the style or the tone of your content changes abruptly, like that student I caught, I look at him, this boy is not that intelligent. The supervisor comes, my friend, Dr. UK, come and look at this boy. Just take him to your office. I'm just angry, he's not telling me anything. I begin to suspect the style the boy was using. And now begin to suspect is using. And if you find that kind of thing, you just click on some words, take it and search. You can use simple Google search, just put it there. You find out that you see all those sources online if they are actually online. Most academic institutions utilize some sort of plagiarism checker, which we just said, to identify that which is actually the best. If the context is too similar to the context found by the checker, you may suspect plagiarism then. If you are worried about the incidental plagiarism, consider running your own through the plagiarism checker. Maybe it's incidental, it's not deliberate, you are not sure. That's why any statement I made at times I'm not sure. Before I submit any work during the editing process, we normally run the plagiarism to check and work on it again, use English editor, give to professional to read so that we avoid those errors. Our plagiarism checker work, we can also go through that and see how do you choose your plagiarism checker. I just told you, those are the 4 important ones. You have other free one online though. There are times I will not have, because I don't have a plagiarism checker, though I have friends who have. Our institution is making arrangement to have one. I'm working to the DVC is also on me to make sure we have one in Edo State University, but we don't have presently, but I have co-researchers abroad who assist us to check. But you can also use some cheap one online you don't pay for, but they don't actually check everything. They are not as perfect as those 4. So you must also think of using a trustworthy plagiarism checker like Turnitin. That's what I was saying. These are some of the steps. Your institution have a Turnitin software you use to check plagiarism. You must also learn as a user or somebody who have access to that plagiarism to use. You don't need to do the setting because the setting will be set by the administrator, the institution, they've already set it. You just follow this, the first one. This is the first one. You look at this step. Sorry, as I click on it, this is the first step. This one is the second one. This one is the third one. The fourth one is just a procedure you follow. The fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one, the eighth one. It's a procedure you follow. The ninth one, the 10th, 11, 12. I just did a screenshot. 14, 15, 13, 14, 15. This 15 step will enable you to. And when you are using a plagiarism checker, let me tell you one of the precautions you use. Assuming I have a work, I just finished the work, I sent to plagiarism checker. Like my PhD work was 28% when we send it first. Not because I plagiarized, but because most of my results have been published. And my institution, University of Benin, requires that it must be below 15. So when we check initially, it was 28. I have to work on some things and make sure I reduce my plagiarism. When you are imputing it into the second time, you must change the user, the title. Otherwise, it will still pick that old one so that the two will not duplicate themselves. The system has already saved one. What you do, you can't delete it. You can only, it is there. The only way when you upload it, when you are not putting the second one, you must change the title so that it will know it. If you use the same title you used to save the first one and put, it will give you the result of the first one, it will mismatch. That's why you'll be very careful to use. Because of time factor, let me conclude this session by saying I have to be sincere. I must be honest. Writing a good research paper, especially the one you want to be published on high impact journal, is not an easy task. As it's rightly said, if any man does not have a reason of waking up, sleeping becomes interesting. I thank God for today. All of us has reason to wake up in terms of good publication. So we must not sleep when it comes to research publication. According to Aristotle, I quote, "He who is unable to live in a society or who has no need because he's sufficient for himself must either be a beast or a god." I thank God none of us are beast or god here. Hence, I cannot say without fear of favor that collaboratory and interdisciplinary research, not individual research, is the new trend. We must all follow collaborative and interdisciplinary research. I want to thank, first and foremost, I want to thank the management of my institution who has given me a lot of training, who has built me up. I want to thank them especially. I want to thank the VC of my institution who actually gave me a grant to go for my postdoc, the first research experience I experienced. As far I got a partial scholarship to do my research work, my PhD work. The other part of it, the management of my institution, led by Professor Emmanuel Aluyo, provided me with the other part. I went there, spent 6 months and took the other part. I'm very grateful to them because most of the skills in my research, I actually learned it from there. So I'm grateful to the management of Edo University any day, anytime. I want to thank my supervisors, series supervisors, home and abroad. I will not mention their name. I'm very grateful to them. I want to especially thank the National Open University of Nigeria, especially the Africa Center of Excellence on Technology Enhanced Learning, ACETA, for giving me this opportunity. I am very grateful to the director. I am very grateful to the link that brought me here. And I also thank the lecturers, the professors, the directors, the VC that are here, the students. I am grateful and I appreciate you all. I pray that God will bless you richly. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. My name is Kingsley. Thank you very much.
Done, thank you for this insightful lecture. What we have now is question time. Please, Dr. Kingsley.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you are ready for the students.
Yes, ma'am. I have my pen, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Let me stop sharing so that I can see everybody.
Use your electronic. Yeah, please. I can't see any hand.
Where is Grace?
Is there no question for him?
Where is Grace? I want Grace to speak to me today.
There are questions in the chat.
Okay. Please help us with it.
Okay. I just go through the chat. Good evening, man. But please kindly help us share all the slides.
Please, if you see any, help us with it.
Yes, that will be done. Like my slide, I will share. That will be done if you leave your email address. I've already sent all my slides have been sent to the admin. And also,
okay, how can students access the Turnitin software?
The Turnitin software is an institutional base, and I think your center has one. You can meet the admin there. They give you a login pin. They give you a login pin. They give you a login pin. They give you a login pin where you can use that login pin to access whatever you want to access on the Turnitin. You just follow those steps. You log in with your pin. They give you an ID like a password. You now begin to use it. If you need tutorial on how to use it, we can also assist you, because I don't have it presently. I also go on tutorial on how to use it.
One site. You made it. We're going to leave it out. Okay, I think that's another question. How can one cite himself or herself?
Yes, I can. Like most of my work, I have done a lot of work. I have done a lot of work where I've cited myself. But if you want to cite yourself, you must be careful, because of time. I was just trying to beat time, so that today I was working with time. I wanted to say 1 hour is 1 hour. So what you try to do in this case, if you are citing yourself, you must also follow the rule as if you are citing somebody else. There's nothing bad, you have done a work, but don't oversight yourself, because we editors and reviewers, when we observe you oversight yourself, we might feel you want to give yourself more citation, and we begin to suspect that work. If any work you have done is relevant to what you are doing, you also follow the same step as if you are citing somebody else. Even when you are paraphrasing, you'll be very careful. You follow the rules of paraphrasing, the rule of citing, and you can cite yourself. It's okay for a researcher. Presently, one of our work that is going to review, because we have done many work on every matter, I have about 10 citations on that work, which is about 150 citations. 10 of my work is being cited on that work, and we use them carefully. There are rules in form.
Okay, thank you. I think you've answered it. Then I have Kalu Igu. Kalu, can we have your question?
I'm so grateful to have Dr. Kingsley. But a big eye-opener.
Unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
So please, I want to ask a question on this issue of trying to avoid plagiarism by paraphrasing. Number one, do you still acknowledge the author after you have paraphrased his statement? Then number two, what is the percentage of error that is allowed when Turnitin is used for checking plagiarism? That's my questions.
Thank you very much, Kalu. Let me take his question first before Nuruddin will ask his own. Avoiding plagiarism, the best way you avoid plagiarism is actually to paraphrase, especially when you are signing. But when you are paraphrasing, you have to be careful. If you read through my slides, you saw I gave a hint on how you can paraphrase. So most of my friends call me Kingsley is the best person among us. If we have issue with plagiarism, they send it to me to paraphrase and actually look at them. You paraphrase, you read the story. It's like you are using your own language to tell what somebody have done. Don't just, when you read that passage, don't look at the passage again. It's something you will learn over time. I read a complete passage, I try to understand it. I just sit down, okay, let me summarize and bring out the key point of this story. I look at them, I paraphrase it, and I must still cite the source. It's a must. I'm not giving credit to myself, because if I copy it and put it directly, plagiarism will catch it. So I need to paraphrase and also cite myself. Like for high impact factor, it varies from journal to journal. But the range is that if it's a research work, most high impact factor, your plagiarism using Turnitin, not other Turnitin. I have a difficulty. I'll give you difficulty. I did a work with some guys. I put my entire, they should combine with Bring. I want to submit. They say they use one software to check is 4%. I was happy. I didn't bother to use Turnitin. I just sent to the editor, a Springer donor. You know what happened? After 2 weeks, if you see the letter they wrote to me, I was ashamed of myself. You understand the pain I could pass through. As reputable as I am in this field, I even review for that donor. I was ashamed. The editor wrote me, Dr. Kukwebo, we are a bit disappointed because the similarity in depth of this work is far above the requirement. Kindly check the work is good. Kindly work on them and resend and use the same number and said the reasons. I was ashamed. I called the person, I picked up a phone and said, Prof, you just formed my hand. You would have told me the software you used were not strong. I sent to other plagiarism. Behold, it was 38% from Turnitin. But he said he has one he used. He said, I don't want to call those one. He said he gave him 4%. It was 38%. So we now worked on it. As I'm talking now, the work is under review. When you want to do it, varies. If it's a research work, most high impact journals, standard high impact journal, it must be less than 10% with Turnitin. If it's a research work. But if it's a review work, it must be 15 to 20%. Anything above that, they will not take. Standard. You also have some who give consideration.
Less than.
And the rest. That's what you take. Is that clear? I don't know if I've answered your question, but
Yes,
most journals,
yes,
if you go to their website, you might not see it there. Author guide, you will not see it. They will only tell you do plagiarism. They won't tell you the percentage. But if it's a research work, make sure the plagiarism with Turnitin is less than 10%. If it's a review work, make sure it is less than 20%. That work will be accepted. Thank you very much.
I appreciate.
Thank you, Dr. Kinsley. I think we have Muhyiddin. Muhyiddin, you can ask your question.
Good evening, Dr. Kinsley, and thank you so much for what you have given us tonight about plagiarism. As you are speaking, my mind is dwelling on the legal aspect of the whole thing. That if somebody, breaks the rule of plagiarism, it can affect one's career for life. But I want to draw your attention to what you said earlier on about innovation. That you ask yourself when you want to send a research report, a research paper, is what you are doing new? Now, the question I want to ask, since nothing is really new under the sun, is definitely when you are writing, somebody has said it before. Where in the entire research paper do you actually are free to bring your own thoughts? Is it in conclusion that somebody can now cite you later? Because I see that virtually everywhere you must cite in order not to be accused of plagiarism. And here I am, what I'm doing is purely a novel idea. I'm breaking to new road, which is what you say is a requirement, that what you are doing, you are contributing new thing to knowledge. In which section of the report do you actually bring in this your new sentence that somebody now can cite you later? I don't know whether you get my question.
Dr. Kinsley, are you with us? Are you still with us? Dr. Kinsley.
Dr. Kinsley? I think maybe it's a network. Maybe it's network.
Yeah,
okay, but can we have another question?
Any of the resource persons can respond to it.
Okay, Dr. Wama, you are around. I can see you.
Yes, I'm here.
Dr. Wama.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, fine.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Doctor.
Yes, the question you asked is a very good one. I am most appreciative for that question. Now we talk about citations and references to enable us escape the punishment of plagiarism, which is a thing that can ruin an academic. Now you asked, where do we now bring in our novelty? Now your novelty is first mentioned in your introduction. Okay, when you give the general background of the study, and then you narrow it to your local, your local or your regional area, and then you establish the gap in knowledge. Then you let us know your aim and objectives. That your statement of aim and objective in the introduction, first and foremost, is your statement of novelty, because it is going to be compared with existing knowledge. So if it is found that, can you hear me?
My network just went off. I just able to reconnect. I'm very sorry about the missing.
Dr. Kinsley.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Wama is already helping. Please let him land.
Okay, I believe him, sir. Prof, continue, sir.
No problem. So first and foremost, in your introduction, as you are immediately you finish the background of study, and then you make a review.
Dr. Owamabi, please.
Okay, and then you make a review of the literature, you establish the gap, then you give your aim and objective. That your aim of carrying out the research is your first statement of novelty. Now, the next point where your statement of novelty comes in is in your discussion. By the time you are discussing the result you have obtained, as you cite people, for instance, you are looking at water quality, drinking water quality in Abuja, and then you discover that the pH is 5.3, and what is required is supposed to be 7.0. Now, what was gotten in Kogi State is 7.0. What was gotten in Mina is 6.9, which is within the range of the normal, but you are getting 5.3. This is now strange. And this is what people have been drinking. So your novelty number one is that you have been able to tell us that the groundwater, the groundwater in Abuja is outside the WHO standard. This is the result you have given to us. Then the next place you bring in your novelty statement is that you now begin to adduce your own personal reasons as a researcher why we may have obtained 5.3 as against 7.0 and 6.9 obtained for neighboring region. So you could adduce it to the geological formation. That's nobody has studied the water quality in Abuja, and nobody has seen that it was 5.3, and nobody has adduced it to geological formation or to pollution. So as you are discussing the result, you begin to bring your own intellectual prowess. That also doesn't mean that you do not cite. As one goes through that your discussion, one will see your own special result that you have obtained, which no other person has obtained. One would also see the way you are discussing it. That's where your novelty comes in. Then another place is in your conclusion. By the time you are concluding, you're able to tell us that this study has affirmed that the water quality in Abuja is poor as a result of low pH, which means that the people are drinking water that is acidic. You could not say that this could be the reason for series of nervous related sickness in Abuja and environ. That's a statement. You see, when we talk about this novelty, like we said, like Professor Bani said, it mustn't be gigantic. It is just a marginal addition to the body of knowledge. So in summary, it begins from your statement of aim and objectives in your introduction. Then it moves into your presentation of your novel result that you have obtained in line with your aim and objective, and the discussion of that result, and then your conclusion. When you put all of them together, as scientists, when we go through it with our scientific eyes, we will see this and we will cite you. I don't know if I'm able to attend to your question.
Thank you very much, sir. You really have done justice to it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. So, Professor Kingsley, you take on from here.
I'm most honored, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So, moderator,
Dr. Ndunagu, are you there? Hello. Okay, so there's the other hands. Oh, Dr. Ndunagu, are you there? So, Shagudairo, you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Good evening, everybody. This has been a very impactful year for me personally, and I want to thank management for putting it up to assist us, especially Director and all the other management of it. Now, my question is, like I asked in the message section there, how do we have access the plagiarism software like Turnitin and other resources that we aid our research? For example, the IEEE Explorer and all the other resource tools that will guide us in conducting research. If the center has it, how do we access it? Then secondly, the speaker today mentioned that collaboration is the new way to go. And just like the examples that he has given, I noticed that, for instance, if you are in the environmental sector, you want to do research and you need artificial intelligence. So how do you network so that you're able to work together to be able to conduct researches and bring out new outcome? Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moderator, can I answer or we take one after the other?
Dr. Ndinagu is back. Yes, I think, should we take, would you be able to take more questions?
Yeah, we can still take one so that we just know it's
okay.
Okay, so I think the question is for you.
Hello.
Okay, so we have Engineer Chidi.
Okay, Engineer Chidi, you can ask your question. We just note it down.
Okay, good day, everyone. I'm happy to be in this class, and I've done a lot. So what I want to ask is like an addendum to what the first person asked concerning plagiarism, because there's something I knew about plagiarism, or what I thought that I knew about plagiarism, that it is when you copy someone's work. And you know, in here, what they used to do is to, when you present your work, they send it online. Maybe there's a plagiarism engine online that will check your work and then score it. If the plagiarism value is very high, they will reject the project. But if it's low, they can accept it. And what the lecturer made me to understand is that plagiarism is when you copy someone else's work. But by virtue of my attending this conference, from what Dr. Kingsley has been teaching us, I found out that it's not when you copy someone's work, but when you didn't cite that you copied that person's work. I want to verify that this is actually what plagiarism is, when you didn't cite where you get the work from. Is that what is plagiarism? Or when you use the same word that the author used? Or if you don't want it to be plagiarism, after reading that author's work, you change the words to your own words. That you change the sentences, even though you're talking about the same thing, you use different words. Is that what will save you from falling into plagiarism? Or is it when you cite that person's work that will save me from falling into plagiarism?
Oh yes, I was waiting for it.
We can get you, Engineer Chidi. Moderator, can we?
Dr. Kingsley cannot answer the question.
I cannot answer question. Can I answer?
Yes, answer.
Okay, let me take Sheu's own.
Mr. Shehu, you are disturbing us. Mr. Shehu,
please,
you are disturbing us.
Like,
please, can that background noise go off?
Hello, Mr. Shehu, please.
Okay, he has muted himself. Chidi, please kindly mute yourself so that we can hear ourselves.
Yes, you can now start.
Okay, like the first one asks how to assess plagiarism and other research materials from the center. I think the center director and management will answer that, but information reaching means that you have most of the resources you need. Maybe you need to channel to the right office. I think they will answer that, and I think your center is very rich. I know they have plagiarism, they have other educational resources that you need to use. It's just to meet the proper people so that they will direct you on where to have them and how to use them. On the network of networking in research, that's the area I want to answer. Yes, actually, networking research is the new trend. You see civil engineering professor Ilari talking about environment. You begin to ask yourself, what is he doing there? You see me, physicists, talking about wastewater. What am I doing there? You see engineer Bani talking about different things. The new trend in research is collaborative, where the first thing, if you see a work, you look at people who have written that work, what editor also use. You see somebody from mechanical engineering, somebody from information management, somebody from agri, they begin to write. You begin to see some element of things inside that work. There is no area, if you begin to think of how you will use Internet of Things to solve environmental problems, you will not do all. The one that will concern you, they will design the scheme of the work. The one that will concern the computation aspect, you do that one. The one that will concern the plant that will be used, somebody else will do that one. So by the time you begin to, everybody has a various section we write, but there is an integration of various sections. You bring your own idea. I bring my own as a physicist. Engineer Abaniji brings his own as a power person. Engineer Ohamu brings his own as a civil engineer. Information technology, we bring them together. You find out that you can actually get it from there. The other question Chidi asks, how do you verify the plagiarism first? You answered it yourself. After reading the person's work, you use your own language and write it, and you will still need to cite that person. That's the best way to use plagiarism. After reading it, you use your own language to interpret what the person has said. After writing it, you still give credit to that person because you did not originate that thing. The person was the one originating it. But what you are doing is to use your language to put in place what Dr. Hilary has done. You still need to cite Dr. Hilary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kingsley. I think we have. Hello, please. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Dr. Kingsley. We appreciate this your presentation. Today we have I think 10 minutes for Dr. Onwama. He has corrections for those that submitted. Onwama, are you ready with it?
Hello, please come again.
I said you promised us yesterday that you are going to share the correction with the students.
Okay. Sorry, Dr. Ndunagu, we still have like two people, one person with the hand and then some chat questions. Ibrahim Gamfada.
Okay.
If we want to take those, yes. And then the question in the chat. Thank you.
Let's take all the questions.
So Ibrahim Gamfada, would you like to?
So which one do we do? Just for Dr. Wama to get ready.
Sorry, ma. Hello, ma.
Yes.
I want to come in on collaboration. I've been having a problem with my network. Now, on collaboration on master's and PhD work, the way out is that the student should always have a supervisor and a co-supervisor. The main supervisor should be somebody in the student's core area. Then the topic might now, for example, a student of computer science who is studying forecasting of stock exchange. Then you can bring somebody from business as a co-supervisor. Why the main supervisor should not be somebody in computer science? A student of computer science who is forecasting power generation, you bring somebody from power as a co-supervisor, while computer science becomes the main supervisor. So for collaboration in master's and PhD work, you go it by co-supervision. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Professor Hilary. That's what I actually did in my PhD, where I have 3 supervisors, because I was in physics, I was working with climate science, atmospheric science. I have a supervisor as a physics, co-supervisor, climate scientist, as another co-supervisor, atmospheric scientist. So you can do that. You find out the work was balanced. Thank you very much, Professor Hilary, Professor Abanili, for that. Thank you. I think Ibrahim can now ask his question.
Yeah, good evening, Doc. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is, for instance, if you are quoting somebody word to word, and then like what the presenter showed us, you put a quotation mark. But in some literature, I used to see you index that word that you are quoting word to word. So I don't know, is it a format that you have to follow, or if you just put the quotation mark, that is sufficient? I just need a clarification in that aspect.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. For that, I think Professor Hilary actually dwell more on quotation. We don't use quotation too much on sciences. It's for the humanitarian. As a science student, you don't need to use quotation too much. If you have to use it at all, it should be at minimum, and you must put the quotation. That is the pattern. Each area of research has a pattern you can write. Scientific, I've never used quotation in my work. I tried to read Professor Hilary's work today when I was free. I didn't see anywhere he was using quotation. So it's not a common tool in scientific research. So you must learn, even when you want to use quotation, you must try to understand what the person has said. You now say, according to this person, you paraphrase and understand it, and say, you still cite the person. According to Professor Hilary, we can use civil engineering techniques to solve environmental problems. I didn't quote him. You don't need to quote him verbatim. But if the case is so tight, you cannot do it, or do it at minimum and use the quotation, it should be better. But it is advisable in science, try to avoid quotation.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Vivian, please.
Okay, the question in the chat says, please, sir, how can we be sure that some knowledge or text is common knowledge and reviewers won't insist on it being cited? I don't know whether you heard that.
I got it very well. I got it very well. What you do there, that's where the editing comes in. Don't be too sure of yourself. Before Professor Larry will tell you here, Professor Banerjee will tell you, and all the professors here, those are part of the editing you do. You must not be too sure of yourself because you feel nobody has done it. You must still need to check for the plagiarism to be sure before you send it out. You understand what I'm saying? You must check. You don't be too sure that I didn't use it there. I told you, I just gave an instance where I was too sure. I sent the work out. It was 38. So I was too sure that they have checked, everything is okay to not give me wahala, but they returned it back and I checked, it was 38. Don't be too sure. Always try and use a standard plagiarism check to check for every work before you send it to an high impact factor so that you don't mess yourself up. Please, it's necessary you check. Then when you see it, you cannot work on it. Checking is not yet rejection. When you see the problem, you cannot know how to reduce plagiarism. If you read down my slide, I think I emphasize on that. You can follow those procedures. You find out that you resist it. If there are some words inside that you cannot paraphrase, scientific words, what we do then, the trick we have adopted, it was a professor I worked with in Pakistan, Professor Attar, that told me, Kingsley, these terms, you cannot change them. You use an abbreviation, but don't let the abbreviation be too much. Those technical scientific thing you cannot change. You can use uncommon abbreviation and you let the author know you use this abbreviation, but it should be at minimum. Those are that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kingsley, for this insightful presentation and the questions.
Hello, ma.
Hello,
ma. Can I come in?
Yes, maybe she's not hearing you. You can.
Okay. Most of the videos of our teaching are being sent to students. From their question, it seems they are not going over them again and the slides. When they go over the videos of what we have been teaching since on Monday and the slide, most of what the questions are asking will not arise. For instance, maybe you are not able to join one day. Please make sure you get the video and get the slide and go through it. When you go through it here, most of the questions I'm hearing here will not arise. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me also contribute to this plagiarism matter that we're talking about.
Okay.
Yes. In a nutshell, when we talk about plagiarism, so that we all know it and then go home with it. Plagiarism occurs in three forms, just like we have been told today. Number one, when you read somebody's work and you did not cite the person, that is plagiarism. Number two, when you paraphrase the work, this time around, you did not lift the work verbatim. You paraphrase the work and you did not cite the author. It is also plagiarism. When you lift somebody's work verbatim and you cite, it is plagiarism. It is
There's a challenge with his network.
There's a challenge with this network. So we can continue. We will join back.
Dr. Ondunabu, let's continue.
I think he's supposed to be the one to take over. He was supposed to give some corrections. Dr. Onwama was supposed to give some corrections after the question. Unless Dr. Kingsley, would you want to continue? I mean, to emphasize or elaborate on what he was saying?
He promised us yesterday that he's going to.
What Prof, can the admin help us? Some persons' background are bringing a lot of noise that is not helping us. Some persons, their background. Okay, what he was trying to say, he was trying to emphasize on plagiarism, trying to look at the various categories where we understand it better. The first aspect he said was that he was trying to say that when you just pick somebody's word, you cite, you copy it verbatim, and you cite that person, you still plagiarism. You just copy it, you put it there, you didn't paraphrase, you cite that person, is plagiarism. When you also feel, okay, I have paraphrased, so it's no longer the person's language, it's not my language, you refuse to cite that person, it's still plagiarism. Then the last aspect is, even when you do that, the way you do your paraphrasing will also matter if it's plagiarism. Your paraphrasing should be in a way, not just changing words, but using your own language to actually interpret what that person has said, because you have an understanding of what that person has done or what that person has written. You still need to cite that person. Otherwise, you'll be caught for plagiarism.
Thank you, Dr. Kingsley. Please, is Dr. Onwama still with us?
Yes, come back, yes.
Okay, please, you promised us yesterday that you're going to share the correction with our students. Thank you very much.
The host can make him an admin so that I can share directly or enable him.
Maybe while we are doing that, Director,
Yes.
Prof.
Can
Can you make your can you make the announcement while he's getting his slides shared?
Okay, I first of all want to address the issue of Turnitin. It's been mentioned, and the university has a Turnitin which all academic staff can access. But the center will make a provision for one so that the students can avail themselves of it. So in the next coming weeks or so, we'll be sure to get one. And as you prepare to write your publications, the center will be able to provide the Turnitin service for all the students of Excel. So I think that's a major one that has been coming up. And also, part of the support the center will provide is, if you are able to get your paper in Scopus, the center will support your publication of this paper. So we would like to encourage you, after this workshop, to use the skills that you have learned to build on the papers that you submit. They must be in Scopus journals, high index journals such as Scopus, for the center to be able to support your publication. And during the course of the workshop, issues came up such as writing a proposal for your MSc or PhD, as well as preparing a seminar. And so there was a suggestion if we could take a day, maybe an hour tomorrow, to also address this so that the students can fully understand. Seminar presentations for both MScs and PhDs of this center have credits and start alone as credit papers. So as a course, I should say, because it has a credit. So it's important that you do it well and earn the required. So I am throwing this open because the workshop has initially been scheduled to end today. But I want to ask, will the students be available for tomorrow, 1 hour, 8 to 9, so that we can also plead with the persons to address the issues of how they can write good proposals as well as seminar papers. I need your response on that. Will you be comfortable for us to extend it by 1 day tomorrow, 8 to 9, and be able to take that?
Can I make a statement? Can I make a statement here?
Dr. Hilary.
Yes, can I make a statement here?
Yes, please.
2 days ago, I was already informed that I should prepare to teach the students tomorrow on development of thesis proposal. So I think I'm working towards it. So if the students will be available, I should be available tomorrow to do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. From the students, are we okay?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to be available.
Yeah, we're very.
Yes, ma'am. We are going to be available.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be available.
We are going to be.
All right. Thank you. So tomorrow, we are not going today. The workshop will go tomorrow after 10 o'clock presentations for tomorrow. And,
will it be the same time, ma?
Yes, the same time.
Okay.
Same time and the same link.
All right.
It will be shared with you, but it will be the same link.
All right.
So, back to Dr. Kingsley, or is it Hilary that is now
It's
taking?
Dr. Hilary. It's Dr. Hilary.
Please,
I could still see my DVC team online. I want to thank him for his patience. Thank you very much, Prof. He's still very much there. Thank you very much, Prof. God bless you, sir.
It's been all through. Professor Balogun, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, everyone. I really do enjoy the presentation, and I'm sure this is a breakthrough for as many that follows that particular trend. Scopus is the way to go. That's what we are learning tonight. By the time we all key into it, we know how to do quality research, know how to publish in high impact journals, and at the same time, avoid plagiarism. I'm sure the sky will be the limit for all of us. So I'm very happy to be part of this. Thank you very much for welcoming me and allowing me to be part of it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you for allowing your staff to have so much knowledge. Thank you. And go ahead, Dr. Hilary. No, Dr. Hilary, are you here?
Yes, I'm ready.
Dr. Wama.
Yes, I'm here. Let me take it off from here so that we can now look at some of these documents and okay. Good evening once again to every one of us. Can you, is my voice, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, son.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you very well, Prof.
Yes, the network in Asaba appears to be poor today, but I'll manage to speak to the papers. Let me begin by thanking our presenter for today, Professor Kingsley. Very wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed myself.
Prof, I am not a professor. My DVC is here.
Don't worry. Once you have a PhD, once you have a PhD in America, you are an assistant professor. Don't worry, I've Americanized you. Don't worry. All right, no problem.
You are already working towards it, Dr. Kingsley, and we'll make sure you get there.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So a lot of submissions came in.
Dr. Kingsley, it's okay. Dr. Onwama is on the stage. Thank you, Dr. Onwama.
So a lot of submissions came in, and I decided to go through them one after the other. And I'll make a general comment before I give my information about the two that I want to share this night. I discovered that many a time we hurriedly prepare our work. We don't go through it to ensure that they are error-free, especially grammatical errors. So when I went through all the work, I discovered that so many of them had grammatical issues, number one, generally. I also discovered that so many were not structured properly, especially those that sent proposals to me. And that is why I really need enough time tomorrow, say 1 hour, to give us some basic ingredients, okay, on how to write a thesis proposal. Let's take this one on the screen as case study and then analyze it. It says social media policing, Nigerian social media policy control and monitoring. Now the problem begins from the topic. You know, normally if you look at this topic, you ask yourself, what is the bracket doing inside topic? Because when we bracket it in, we are trying to say, we use bracket when we're explaining our abbreviations. And it is usually not expected to see abbreviation, to see a sentence too long like this in bracket. So the topic has to be readjusted. Social media policing, Nigeria social media policy control and monitoring. Okay, so I think that it requires amendment, the topic. Those brackets should be removed. The first sentence and the second sentence joined together in such a way that everyone will know that you are talking about social media policing, and then you are relating it to the Nigerian social media policy control and monitoring. So strike off those brackets and then join the first two sentences to be able to get something reasonable. Now we go to the abstract. If you look at the abstract, you say that the research is centered on activity monitoring and designing policy framework for the control of most frequently used SM platforms in Nigeria. There should be a full stop there. You don't continue. When your sentences are too long, they will lose their meanings. So that's why when we do scientific report writing, we try as much as possible to make our sentences short. So when you say that the research is centered on activity monitoring and designing policy framework for the control of most frequently used SM platform in Nigeria, you put full stop. So the next sentence begins from this will, capital letter. This will be achieved through information gathering using cyber threat intelligence techniques from the social activities, whatever. Your opening paragraph is very okay, very rich, but you need to put a full stop there to shorten the sentence. And I also believe that your methodology is also well stated, because if you look at it, you say that the expected CTI techniques will be used in the research. The expected CTI techniques to be used in the research include data mining from pattern evaluation, data aggregation, data analysis. So your second paragraph is okay, which talks about the methodology. Now we go on. So your first paragraph is okay. Just that you need to shorten some sentences. Your second paragraph is quite okay also. Now you look at the ones I marked in yellow. It said the study concludes. How can you conclude a result when it's a proposal? What is conclusion doing there in an abstract of a proposal? It does not make any sense at all. So you need to wipe off all of those in yellow. He said the study concludes that application of SM for activity. This is why many times they reject our proposals when we write applications for sponsored research abroad. Because by the time they see that you are concluding in a work that you are proposing to do, it will look as if you don't know what you are doing. Okay, so the study concluded that application of SMM for activity monitoring and evidence reconstruction using cyber threat intelligence for information collection and distribution has a paramount role. This shows that this work is copied. You show that this work is plagiarized. Because how do you explain it as a researcher? That a work you are proposing, proposal is like when you are talking to a woman that you want to marry her. That's a proposal. And at the same time, you are telling her that the woman already had 5 children for you. It's a terrible way to make a proposal. So you need to wipe it off. So in proposals, we don't conclude, we don't show results because we don't even make recommendation. You even went ahead to be making recommendation. Thus, the study recommends that government in Nigeria needs to adopt a model on policy control. This work cannot fly. Okay, you are proposing, it's like proposing to a lady who already had 5 children for you. So you need to go to. You know, so now again, in proposals, we seldom have keywords, except the proposal is for winning grants, okay, which is highly summarized. You can put keywords. But if it's a thesis proposal that your supervisor knows you and you know your supervisor, it is within a local environment, you don't bother yourself with keywords because it is not a manuscript. Proposals are meant for research that is intended to be done. So, and if at all, we should allow you to have keywords. Your keywords are too long. They're already in 3 sentences. Can you imagine keywords? You're putting social media, cyber threat intelligence, data mining, malicious content, just too plenty. So please delete those keywords if it is a thesis proposal. But if it is a proposal for attraction of grant, you can minimize those keywords to at least 5. Once keywords are more than 5, then there are already redundant words in the keywords that should be eliminated. Now look at your table of content. Table of content, very bad. Now, in a proposal, let me explain this one before I continue with this work, which I will also explain tomorrow. In proposals, they are usually, thesis proposals are usually about 20 to 30 pages. Now, and they are chaptered into 3, only 3. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Now, your chapter 1 is supposed to contain, your chapter 1 is your introduction. You just put chapter 1 introduction, you don't number it. Unlike this young man who has numbered his own 1 point. Your chapter 1, you just put chapter 1, you put introduction. Your 1.1 becomes a background of study. Your 1.2 becomes statement of problem. Your 1.3 becomes aim and objectives. Your 1.4 could be scope of the problem. Your 1.5 could be theoretical framework. All of them fall under chapter 1. Now you use subheadings to begin to identify them. So in this case now that you have given me 1 point as introduction, 2.0 as statement of problem, and all of those things, up to 6.4, it doesn't make any sense at all. It has fallen short of the standard for chapterizing a proposal. So you need to rework it. And besides, there is nothing like 2.0. There is nothing like 3.0. When you say 2.0, you mean chapter 2, subsection 0. They can never be subsection 0. So when people say 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, it shows lack of maturity in scientific writing. It can only be 2 points, statement of problem. Then the next becomes 2.1. It can only be 3 points, aim and objectives. Then the next becomes 3.1, aim, 3.2, objectives. 2.0, remember when we put points, we're talking about chapter and sub-chapters. So if you say 2.0, you are talking about chapter 2, subsection 0. Can there ever be subsection 0 in a work? The answer is no. When you talk about 5.0, you are saying chapter 5, subsection 0. Because 5.1 means chapter 5, subsection 1. Chapter 5.2 means chapter 5, subsection 2. So let us try as much as well to avoid all these 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. Besides that, the structure is not just okay. It is supposed to be introduction, chapter 1, literature review, very short literature review. And then your introduction, okay, like I said, I've given a component. Then you go to your literature review, which shouldn't be more than 5 to 10 pages because it is a highly summarized literature review since it's a proposal. Then you go to your chapter 3, which is usually between 3 to 5 pages, talking about the methodology you want to use. And then you have your references. And you remember. Can I go on?
Yes, please go on.
Okay. And then you should know that when you are writing proposal, you make use of will. You don't say that you have done it. You say, this research, you understand me, will investigate. Not this research investigated. you have not done the work. Even in the scope, you put that the scope of this research shall involve or will involve. That is the way. It must be in the present tense because the work has not been done. So nothing like past tense until you have finished the work. Now let's look at your introduction. Let's look at the introduction. Please, as I correct this one, I want others to learn from it. If you look at your introduction, it is just too short. Well written. Let me commend you for that, whoever that has this work. Your introduction is well written, but too short. Look at your opening paragraph, very powerful. You say the importance of social media and social networks in our society cannot be overemphasized, considering the level of its acceptability and utilization, perfect, and benefit it brings to the nation, economically, socially, and politically. I want to clap for you for this particular one. You did very well. However, there are lots of breaches and malicious activities. Very powerful also. But it is too short. In proposal, your introduction is between 1 page to 2 pages. In proposal, please can we mute our systems? Can we mute our systems?
Engineer Chidi, please. Engineer Chidi, please.
Can I go on?
Yeah, you can go on, my dear.
So the introduction that you have written here is good, but very short, number one. Then number two, not properly subsectioned. So normally, as that your introduction is not one, it is chapter 1 under its introduction. So everything you have written here should have been 1.1 background of study, 1.1 background of study, and the background is well written, but very short. So I think that the error is in chapterization. You should your 1 point and 1.2 should be combined together to form your background of study. And then when you combine it together, if it is more than 2 pages, you try as much as possible to eliminate some redundant and irrelevant sentences and words. Your introduction and proposal cannot be more than 1 to 2 pages. So I want to talk to the owner of this work, Aliyu Adamu. Combine the first paragraph, I call it paragraph now, your wrongly titled introduction and your wrongly titled Nigerian social media. Join 2 of them together and label it as background of study. And then check if it is more than 1 to 2 pages. Then you begin to eliminate some words. But the write-up in itself is okay. Now we proceed. If you look at your figure 1, you know, when I was speaking to us the other time, I said, when you are writing figures, you refer to the figure before the figures appear. I looked throughout this work now, there was no place where you mentioned that you are going to show us figure 1. And all of a sudden, we are seeing figure 1. That is absolutely unacceptable, number 1. Again, it is better you move this figure to chapter 2, where you have the opportunity to talk about relevant and irrelevant issues with respect to your topic, where you can show us diagrams and show this thing. We, in scientific writing and in proposal writing, we usually do not want you to bring in tables and figures in chapter 1, because chapter 1 is chapter introduction, which is chapter 1, is where you establish the meat of the work. Is where you write your statement very, very strongly so that we are enabled to read the other things. So I recommend, with all sense of humility and responsibility, that you take this figure to 2 so that it can now become figure 2.1. Even your labeling is wrong. You cannot say figure 1. Figure 1 is only when you are writing manuscript. Like I told us, in proposals, you don't call it figure 1. You must tell us it can only be figure 1.1. However, I do not even want the figure to be here. So let's assume you push it to chapter 2. It can only be figure 2.1. It cannot be figure 2. Figure 2.1 means the first figure in chapter 2. Figure 2.2 means the second figure in chapter 2. Table 2.1 means the first table in chapter 2. So in proposals, figures are not numbered in single digit without decimal. It has to be 2.1, 2.2, 2.9, 2.10. It's only a manuscript writing that will number it serially and continuously. So I beg you, take this figure to chapter 2, number your figure properly as figure 2.1, and then you should also remember that it has to be mentioned. You can tell us that figure 2.1 shows the most used social media platforms in Nigeria, and then you show your figure. It has to be mentioned. It has to be referred to. Now, we proceed. If you look at this one I marked in red, you cannot start a statement with however or but. In English, it is very bad. And let me also say that 2.0 is statement of problem. 2 point is chapter 2. So this your statement of problem is supposed to be 1.2. Okay? And be that as it may, you don't begin with however. It is well written. The statement of problem, in fact, whoever has this work is sound, is intelligent, but yet to be properly tutored. Very sound. Your writing skill is superb. I must give it to you. However, you need serious tutelage on your chapterization and arrangement of work. You don't start a statement, however. So if you ask me, you should have been able to start this statement by saying, remove the however and put, there are lack of evidence-based research that provide clear guidance on how to optimize social media operations in Nigeria using activity monitoring through cyber intelligence information gathering, evidence reconstruction, and how to manage and mitigate suspected user criminal or malicious activities propagation through implementation of control policies. Powerful, and I clap for you again. But too short. Your statement of problem for a proposal should be between 0.75 to 1 page. In fact, to 1.5 pages. 0.75 to 1.5 pages. That means nearly 1 page to about 1.5 pages. Because that's where you play around literature. That's where you tell us the preview, what exists in the body of knowledge. That's why you now tell us what does not exist, that is informing your next chapter, your next subsection 1.3, aim and objectives. So this is too short. Go build it up. This shows that you have not done, this shows that you are smart, you are intelligent, but you have not done exhaustive literature review. By the time you look at literature the more, you will get to know what so many persons have done. You will now be able to deduce what they have not done. That will now strengthen your resolve to do this work that you have planned to do. Now, your 3.0 is supposed to be 1.3, aim and objective, and nothing like aims. Please, I beg us, in the name of everything pleasant to us. It is aim and objective. Every research has one aim. There is no research with 2 aims. So please, it is aim and objective, 1.3. You can now have 1.3.1 aim. You now tell us the aim. 1.3.2, if you like, objectives. You now list the objectives. Now, if you look at this, your aim, even outside the typographical error, let me see if I can minimize this so I can see what I'm, okay. Now, if you look, I say it is aim, not aims, and should be 1.3. So please, and it is even too long. Aims are usually between 2, 3, or 4 sentences. So this, your aim, is too long. It is now beginning to look like statement of problem. So you need to adjust it to make it 2, 3, 4 sentences. It is just the aim of this study is to, that's all, is to do this, do that, and do that, and do that. You don't make any citation in aim. You don't talk long story in aim. Aim is just like, for those who go to Catholic, it's like evening service in Catholic churches. You know, evening services are usually not long in Catholic churches. The Reverend Father just comes and he does what he wants to do, and everybody goes home because the women then need to go and cook for their husband. That is the way aim is. You don't write too long a story. Can I go on?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you look at your objective, it's also poorly written. You say the research objective is to develop a user management policy model on monitoring and control that will interactively provide guidance on, you have only one aim. Because every other thing you are itemizing are subsets of the aim you have given to us. How can you now do a PhD thesis? How can you now do a master's degree research with only one aim? The minimum is 3. The maximum is 6. The minimum is supposed to be 3, maximum 6. So if you are giving us one aim, then it means we should throw the work away. So the research cannot just have one objective. Sorry, I'm talking about objective, not aim. It cannot have one objective. So you go and convert some of all this, your I, and I, convert them into standalone objectives. convert them into standalone objectives, in addition to the only one objective we have in this work. Now, theoretical framework is supposed to be maybe 1.4, 1.5. But even when you look at the theoretical framework, this is where you failed woefully. This doesn't look like theoretical framework. You say this session explained the research techniques and parameters under this study, the procedures to be used. How can procedure be theoretical aim? The procedure to use the research methodology session, this includes threats to blah, 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 blah. All this should be in methodology. When we talk about theoretical framework, we are talking about you reviewing the existing theories in that work to show that you know the fundamentals, the existing theory. So if you are talking about social media network and all of those things, and then people abusing it or people, criminals invading it, some persons must have researched into this and established some theories. Those are the theories you now review and then give us the importance, the implication of any of them to your work. So you review them vis-a-vis your work. You review them in the light of your work in a very summarized manner. So this is not theoretical framework. Theoretical framework, we should see the theory of maybe Johnson's theory of social media usage, Albani's theory of social media usage, Dr. Kingsley's theory on criminality in the cyberspace. These are the things we call theoretical framework. So everything I've written here should be deleted and the appropriate theoretical theories brought on board, summarized and related or put in line with your work. Now, you now talk about cyber threat intelligence technique. I don't know where to put these ones because you have not chapterized your work very well. I don't know if this one is now under where it should be, whether it's under chapter 2, but it's supposed to be under chapter 2, which is literature review. And I said it should be between 8 and 10 pages. Okay, so this should be under chapter 2, where you now talk about many other things: cyber security in bank, cyber security in MTN, cyber security in the university. All manner of slightly relevant things cannot be spoken of. So when you chapterize it properly, you should be able to place that where it is. Then your method of referencing is very troublesome. Look at what you say, MD Sharon. Abani was able to tell us yesterday that it's only the surname using the APA system that is mentioned. And the year, I don't know where you are getting your MD from now. And the MD looks like managing director of a bank. So this is not correct. Your referencing system is very bad. Now, you also bring in figure 2. Figure 2 was not referred to originally in the work. So we cannot see a figure that has not been hitherto referred to. You must mention the figure 2 shortly after mentioning it to show us the figure. Then also your referencing of the source where you got it from is also wrong. Strike off that M and leave it as Sharon 2018. Then again, I marked all your references. You can see them. This is wrong. It is having shuttle AC. Show that you did not go through this work in line with what Professor Bani taught yesterday. Please, I want us to take these lectures very seriously, study the manuals also with the aim of implementing, because the letter kill it. So I want you to get the rema in the teaching, which is the understanding, because it's the understanding that can profit. When you rely on the letters, the letter can only kill the body. So your referencing is bad. Then we have data mining technique. It should be under chapter 2. I don't want to go through them since you didn't chapterize it well. And all of those, let me just scroll down to where I should be able to make another categorical statement. Now, if you go down and go down, you have your research gap, which is like justification of study or significance of study. The research gap is too short. The research gap is usually between 0.5 to 1 page, between half a page to 1 page. So you need to build up this research gap. It's too short. Now, your methodology is quite okay, but it is not 6.0. Methodology is 3 points, not even 3.0. This your 6.0 means chapter C, subsection 0. That is the worst thing anybody should write in a manuscript or in a proposal. So it is 3 points. And then your structure is quite okay. Just the only thing that I did not label it well, it is just very okay. Research data collection, your content is okay. This one should not be 3.2, not 6.2. Data mining and activity monitoring for information extraction, quite okay also when I went through it. So all you need to do is to chapterize it well. Then we are seeing table demonstrated activity monitoring. That table is standing on its own, and we cannot see table under it. The table is not jumping to somewhere else. So I think you can settle down to rearrange this work properly. We are seeing a figure that has no figure number. You just put figure. You now say sample data mining system. That is unacceptable. Is it figure 1.1? Is it figure 2.3? Is it figure 3.1? So you need to look at it. Then, and all of that. Then we have your conclusion. You say this research discusses proposed method on how social media can be used for threat monitoring and control using information intelligence and gathering to data mining. This can be achieved using behavior analysis and all of that. The research seeks to beautiful conclusion. Conclusion should propose that the findings, if successfully applied, wonderful. I have no issue with your conclusion. Your conclusion is quite okay, but we don't usually put conclusion in proposal. So you may eliminate it. You have not done the work. So what are you concluding? There may be no need for that conclusion. And then your references, I don't want to say much about it because apparently he did a thorough work yesterday. You should look at what he did and then use upper method to repackage this, your reference. Let me get a response before I go to the next one. Let's go back to the house now and get responses.
Prof, let me come in with something before you go to another thing. Please, I beg the director, ma, from this topic, let it not be only somebody in computer science that will supervise this. Somebody from mass comm should be a co-supervisor because that is where the main work is coming from. Please, ma. Thank you.
All right. Okay, noted. Thank you.
Further reaction. Let's hear from the candidate first, and then we can take reaction from other persons. Then I can go to the second person, so that it will be interactive. Adamu Aliyu Abdul Samad. Can we hear from you? Maybe he's not here. Okay.
Hello.
So,
I guess he's not in the house.
Okay, very unfortunate. So I move to the second person since he's not in the house. You see, when you give us an assignment like this, it took me more than 1 hour to review only this particular one. There is need for you to be available so that you hear and then we learn together. I don't know. Can I go to the second one?
Okay.
Yes,
hello?
please.
Yes, sir. An observation, sir. This is my grandfather, sir. And when I was going seeing his work, I noticed something. Some of the abbreviation he do. You will see, like in the abstract, he was writing SM. I don't know what is SM because he did not even define it from the initial stage.
Okay, that's another. Yes, even CTI was not defined from initially.
It was not. Yes, so maybe you could have defined it first before you can start abbreviating it.
Yes. Before you put abbreviation, you must write the whatever you are writing in full. Then you now abbreviate, and subsequently you no longer write in full. You now use abbreviation. This is what Dr. Kingsley has also taught us today. You know, this workshop is you pick from this person, join them together and become better than them. So we expect the students to become far better than we are at the end of this workshop. So let me go to the second one, if I'm permitted. Am I permitted?
Yes, sir. Go on, please.
Okay, let me share it. Let me share that second one so I can go on. Just give me a few minutes and then a few seconds rather. Let me share it. I hope I've stopped sharing the first one. The first one is no longer being shared, Abby?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Prof, if it will not work, as you are teaching proposal writing tomorrow, Okay.
No, it will
Okay,
work. It will work. It will work. So let's now discuss this one. I don't know if Ibrahim Abubakar grandfather is here.
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, if you look at your work, please, I may make some critical statements. Forgive me in advance. It's just for all of us to learn. You say performance evaluation of 5G networks. If you want, first and foremost, is that your topic is too short. The title is too short. It is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very, very short. Okay, very, very short. Number one, performance evaluation of 5G network. It is too short. Number one. Number two is that it is not in line with the work done. The work you did was not on performance evaluation of 5G network alone. Why do I say so? When you go to the abstract and then you go to your aim, you say this research is therefore aimed at evaluation of the performance of 5G network in terms of the spectral efficiency and signal to interference noise ratio as compared with fourth generation. It's a comparative research as compared to. So this is a comparative, it is comparative analysis. The performance evaluation is comparative. So you need to bring in the 4G network into the title and let us know that it is a comparative analysis, it is a comparative work. You are comparing the performance of the 5G network and then with that of the 4G network. So you need to recast this, your title. Now let us look at the abstract now. First of all, this your work is not very bad, but the English is unacceptable. And the bad grammars I found were not deliberate. You already prepared the work. We take the first sentence. The fifth generation network will be heterogeneous, comprising not only, how can you say that it will be heterogeneous, comprising not only the evolved existing system, but also the new radio system based on a new interface that will span. You can say the fifth generation network is heterogeneous and comprises, so the English is bad. It's not, the fifth generation network is heterogeneous, comprising not only the evolved existing system, but whatever. So that word will be, does not fit in. Now we go on. This research is therefore there is not even necessary at all. You can just say that the research is aimed at evaluating the performance. The evaluation of doesn't make sense to me. This research is aimed at evaluating the performance of, not performance in. The performance of, not performance in, the performance of 5G network in terms of spectral efficiency and signal to interference noise ratio, SNR, as compared with the fourth generation network, long-term evolution, advanced, whatever. Now, I don't know what you mean by the result of such analysis. Are you not the one doing the analysis? What do you mean by such analysis? That's also unacceptable. You can say the result obtained, not the result of such analysis. The result obtained indicate that the CDF, that your T small letter, the CDF of the SES, and I don't think you have defined CDF. We don't even know what CDF means. Your SES, we don't know what it means. For 4G network technology falls within so, and so. Why those of 5G smoothly roll from 0 to this, which presents a higher, that from 0 to 20 years, put full stop. You people like make use of long sentences. We don't do this in scientific writing. Put full stop, and then you begin the next sentence. You understand me? This presents a higher spectral efficiency due to higher bandwidth of up to 40 megahertz. And the core network, which accommodates small antennas, both to transmission and reception with coverage area. So you need to rework this, your abstract. We're now going to introduction. The opening sentence is very sweet, quite good. Wireless network technologies have experienced several exciting innovations and technology advancement in recent years. Beautiful. The successive transformation, what, beautiful. However, look at the area I marked in yellow. And I say, How can you present and discuss the result under introduction in a manuscript? That's terrible. That wasn't what we taught you. Now look at what we are saying there. Under introduction, you say the result indicates a higher spectral efficiency. Meanwhile, even you are supposed to present a slight form of the result in your abstract. Every other thing is going to result and discussion proper. So everything marked in yellow there must go if you are sending this paper to a reputable journal. The result indicates a higher spectral efficiency. The result indicates that a higher spectral efficiency is presented by the 5G network due to higher bandwidth up to 40 megahertz, and the core network which accommodates more antennas, both at transmission and reception. That is not okay. The remainder of this paper is organized as follows. That's for those in the social sciences. We usually don't do that in scientific writing. The remainder is organized in section 2. In that say section 2, we provide overview. In section 3, we describe propose. In section 4, where is the methodology? All the sessions you have just given here, no methodology. And meanwhile, it is a scientific investigation. So, and I say, if you look at the first paragraph I marked yellow and the second paragraph I marked yellow, what is the relationship between them? No relationship. You just wrote, and I read it to you. Let me read the last sentence. And the core network, which accommodates more antennas, both at the transmission and reception within the coverage area. The next thing is the remainder of this paper. What is the relationship between coverage area and the remainder of this paper? It doesn't make any sense at all. Because when you are writing a manuscript, the last sentence of a particular paragraph has a relationship with the other one. So I think you may expunge that too. Now you wrote so many things. Quite okay. But my problem is that in all of these you have written, the grammar is bad and there is no methodology. So I was pissed off. I couldn't read all of them. Because if there is no methodology, I was trying to see how did you determine the performance of 5G network and the performance of 4G network. I was trying to see the tools that you use. And it's just in a few occasions that you mentioned MATLAB. How did you determine them? And under what environment? Under what circumstances? And what was your control experiment? I was trying to see, you understand me, which variables were you varying? Which variable did you keep constant? Did you keep frequency constant? Did you keep velocity constant? Whatever, I'm not in your area. Okay? So what variables are you keeping constant? What variables are you varying? What is the control experiment? What tools did you use? What are the equipment? What are their model numbers? Who are the manufacturers? And from which country are the equipment coming from? So there's no methodology in this work at all. You only wrote so many things and brought in some figures that are not original. Because these figures, you got it from somewhere. They don't look original. Now, you are not telling about figure 1.0. Now, there is nothing like figure 1.0. Figure 1.0 means figure 1, subsection 0. Please, I beg us again, stop putting 0.0. Okay? And then the figure was not even referred to before it appeared properly. So, you need to refer to the figure before it appears. And then you need to know that it is not figure 1.0. It should be figure 1. In manuscript writing, we don't put point. We have figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. So this your figure 3.0 is supposed to be figure 3. And then you need to tell us where you got it from. Now look at your referencing pattern, very regular. In your wrongly labeled 1.0, you put that you got it from 22, numbering system. Now you are coming to figure, your wrongly labeled figure 3.0, you are putting source, GSMA. It should also be in number. You must maintain your referencing pattern in line with the instruction of the journal. So that's also not okay. Table 1.0, there is something like table 1.0, it is table 1, which will be differences between 5G and 4G mobile system. Okay, so it is table 1, not table 1.0. And besides that, you have not mentioned the table 1 before its appearance. When you also look down, you will see where you are mentioning figure 2.3. It is very, very wrong. It's either it is figure 2 or it is figure 3. In manuscript writing, we do not say 2.3, we do not say 2.4, and what have you. Then you are talking about table 2.2 below. There is nothing like table 2.2. It should be table 2. Then we don't make use of below. and above in scientific writing, you just mention the table and then you show the table subsequently. Since you have mentioned the table, we will look forward to seeing the table. So you do not tell us below. It can be interpreted in more than one way. Above can be interpreted in more than one way. Above can mean that it is above the figure. Above can mean that it is above in the beginning of the work. So we do not use of below and above in scientific writing. That's why you mention tables before they appear. Don't say table 2.2 below. No, don't put table 2, full stop. Now, I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we proceed. If you look at this other place, you put in figure 2.0 above. No, it is in figure 2. Okay, in figure 2. And your sentence there, the English is bad also. In figure 2, it outlines. No, you cannot say in figure 2, it outlines. You say figure 2 outlines clearly. One sentence, sweet and eloquent. Figure 2 outlines clearly the key difference between the 4G and 5G mobile networks, no longer network, because you are talking about 4G and 5G, between the 4G and 5G mobile networks, for instance, and what have you. Then you also have figure 4.0, it is very wrong, it can be figure 4. You have table 2.5 there, it is very wrong. You also have it below. Please avoid all of those. Now we go to 5G deployment strategies. Here should be methodology. It should be methodology and not enough of talking about too many things that other people have written. Let us see why you are doing that work, because this is a core scientific investigation, trying to do a comparative analysis of the performance of 4G network and 5G network. So we should be seeing a lot of tables, a lot of graphs, comparing the two performances with respect to the environment you are using them. And then you now begin to tell us the one we should adopt. So no methodology once again. And so we go on, your result, discussion of result. You say for the analysis, the performance of the network system was compared in terms of average SC and SINER as shown in figure 6, not figure 6.0, as shown in figure 6. Yes, I like the way you mentioned it before showing the figure. That's what I want you to do for other one. In figure 6, okay, then you now show the figure. You now say from figure 6, that F must be capital letter. I've told you people that whenever you mention a figure with a number attached to it or a table with a number attached to it, whether in the beginning of a sentence, in the middle, or at the end, it is treated as a proper noun. So the F must be in capital letter, the T for table must be in capital letter, irrespective of where it appears in the work. So that figure 6 is not correct because you're using small letter. Then you have your figure 7.0, which is not okay. Then the conclusion. Your conclusion is like a mini skirt. It's too short. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Your conclusion is too mini skirt-like. From the analysis and discussion of result, the 5G network using the MNY technology operating a MIMO system. This is this is the first time you're mentioning MIMO system itself. Presents a higher spectral efficiency when compared to the 4G, whatever, a network of this very, very short. It does not show your main findings. And that's because there was no methodology. That's because there are not enough tables to display the differences in the performance of the 4G network and the 5G network. That's because there are not enough charts to show the differences in the two. That's the reason. Whenever you see conclusion being too short, you know that the author has underworked. So go do more work, do this work the way it is supposed to be done, and then flesh up your conclusion because it is too short. References, I don't want to touch it because Professor Bani has spoken a lot about references. Just speak his material and look at what he has done. And so I end the discussion here so that we can now go back to the house and interact.
Prof, please, I overheard you say MATLAB. Let me warn all computer science students. Please, if you must use MATLAB, you must tell us the version and the spec of the system you installed it into. And mind you want to publish in a high impact journal. It shouldn't be this crack version Nigerians are using. It must be licensed. If you dare use crack version, which means you have stolen from somebody and you now want to go and present what you have produced is what you have stolen. Please, it must be a licensed MATLAB, and you must tell us the version and tell us the spec of the system where you have installed the MATLAB. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So let's get the response from the author first, then we can take responses from other people.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the review. In fact, I submitted something in hurry. A lot of things that you raised, I will go back, do the correction. I really appreciate, and it has also teach me a lot of things that before I think I understand, but now I got to know some of the technicalities and things that I need to take care of when I'm writing paper to be presented in a high impact journal, for instance. I really appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. So over to the moderator.
Dr. Finago, are you there? Okay. Looks like looks like
I think she's out. She's out.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Hilary, for taking us through this important review of what they have done. And I'm sure all of us have learned from the input made on just brought out the issues relating to it. So I'm grateful. Since we have tomorrow to look at a lot of issues raised here also for emphasis and BC Balu for being here with us. I want to appreciate all our senior professors that have also been here. Once again, the Vice Chancellor for giving us the support to hold this virtual workshop. We appreciate students for
some hands are up
and participating in this workshop. We will see tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We wish us a happy night and
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.